Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the demand and supply of money. Some of this is going to be review based upon some of the activities we've done in class, and some of this is also going to be some new information. So you get a little bit of both here in this presentation. Okay, let's first talk a little bit about the supply of money. Definition-wise, it's the amount of money in circulation, and it's also constantly changing. Okay, the amount depends on how much money is desired by individuals and businesses. Okay, supply money automatically expands and contracts with the needs of businesses. Right, it just doesn't magically happen though. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We've been talking a little bit about that in class. We're going to talk a little bit more about that now in terms of what the Fed does to expand money going one way or the other. Okay, so what is our money supply? Typically, what the Fed calls M1 money is our money supply. We're going to talk a little bit about what M1 money is, M2 money, M3 money, and so on and so forth. Okay, M1 money, and this is something you want to get down, is currency, right? Held outside of banks. You got $5 in your pocket. You've got M1 money. All right. Demand deposits. When we put money into a checking account or a savings account, that's M1 money. Traveler's checks, although nobody really uses those anymore, that's considered M1 money. All right, and other checkable deposits, things like money market funds. Money market funds are like savings accounts, but they get a little bit more interest in them, and they're used by banks to try to get you to deposit more larger money. The downside to money market funds is that you cannot transfer the money as easily as you normally would be able to, but you can write checks out of that. But that's for personal finance. We'll talk about that at the end of the semester. Make sure you get all four of these examples down for M money. All right, there's a couple more. We got currency. Okay, coin, like quarters and pennies and all that other stuff, is about 2 to 3% of M1 money. All right, and its intrinsic value is often less than its face value. Okay, you got a shiny penny that was from the year you were born. Okay, that may mean a lot to you. Yeah, it's still only worth a penny. Okay. Paper money, again, that $5 you have in your pocket, is about 46% of M1 totals, all right, in the form of the Federal Reserve notes. That's the cash. Real quickly though, these percentages not necessarily required to know. Just this is for information, all right. M1 excludes money though. This is important. This is important to note. M1 excludes money being held in a bank vault. So like the reserve requirements and things like that, that's not M1 money. This is only money in circulation. It's only money in circulation that you need to worry about, and anything that's held in a bank or anything like that is not counted. Okay, more about M1 money here. In terms of checkable deposits, right, checks are about 52% of total M1, and they're used by about 90% of the transactions. Right, most banks and most firms don't operate with cash when they're operating between each other. You got also automatic transfer service and share draft accounts. For example, like when I pay my electric bill to Commonwealth Edison, right? I use an electronic check or an automatic transfer, and Chase will automatically transfer that money from my account to Commonwealth Edison. Okay. Just one other important item to note here: currency and checkable deposits owned by the U.S. Treasury, the Fed, or commercial banks and other financial institutions are not counted as M1. So if Chase were to cut a check to, say, Fifth Third Bank or something like that, those are not counted as M1. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about M2 and M3 money supply here. Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, okay, we're back now. A little interruption by the PA person. Wasn't for me, so don't worry. I don't have to go down to the principal's office. Anyway, M2 and M3 money supply are near monies. They're highly liquid financial assets, all right, but don't directly function as a medium of exchange, but can become cash relatively easy. Now, that's kind of a confusing definition when you think about it. I'm going to show you some examples here. But they're highly liquid financial assets that don't directly function as a medium of exchange. Some examples here, okay? First of all, what do we use these near monies for? Well, spending habits, right? The greater the amount of financial wealth held as near money, the greater the willingness to spend out of current income. If I'm a millionaire, if I'm a billionaire, right, I've got near money. I've got lots of property. I've got money that's close by. I've got a lot of money in stocks, things like that, right? I'm willing to spend out of my current income. I'm not really going to borrow any money in terms of the bank or anything along those lines. I'm willing to spend what I'm making, okay? What happens is, let's say Bill Gates were to just convert all of his money into easy cash, all of his stock investments and things like that. If Bill Gates were to cash out all of his near monies, the M1 money supply, if he actually had cash, like dollar bills, would force inflation, because now all of a sudden there's $20 billion more of cash that's into the market, all right? And policy, the near monies kind of complicates the actions to be taken in terms of what are we going to cut taxes? What are we going to do? We'll talk more about this more in class as we get into some examples, okay? So what is M2 money? Well, M2 money is M1 money plus, and here are the examples: savings accounts, money markets, mutual funds, money market deposits, and small denominations deposits. So when we're saving up for a house or a car or something like that, and Beth and I have money in a savings account or a money market account or a mutual fund, that's M2 money. That pile of money that we have sitting there, I don't have it in cash, okay? I don't have it in cash, but I've got it. I could get it really quick. M3 money is M1 money, or I'm sorry, M2 money plus any savings instruments greater than $100,000. Again, if Bill Gates has $20 billion in stock, right, that's a savings instrument that's greater than $100,000, all right? We do not include less liquid assets like T-bills or U.S. savings bonds in M3 money. Okay, that's taken out. That's important to know. Okay, M3 money. All right, so just to recap here, M1 money is checkable deposits, travelers' checks, and currency. M2 money are like savings accounts and small-time deposits, and then M3 are large-time deposits. Okay, does gold or silver back up our money? A lot of you have been asking me this this semester. The answer, scarily, is no. And even more unsettling, our money is not backed up by anything. Yeah, just best not to think about that. Let's move on. All right. Well, money is debt. How do we use that? Well, money, it's interesting here, and this is pretty important here to know. Paper money is the circulating debt of the Federal Reserve banks. In other words, the cash that we're using has been loaned out to other banks by the Federal Reserve. Okay, checkable deposits are the debt of commercial banks and thrift institutions. Not so much important to know that. All right, and paper value has really no intrinsic value. It cannot be redeemed in gold or any other item. Okay, valued item for that matter. All right, it cannot be redeemed. So if I have $1, I can't get gold necessarily for that. Right? It has really no intrinsic value. Now I could buy some gold. I could use that as an exchange, but at certain markets, it's just not going to make sense. Right? Remember, money isn't backed by anything. So in the end, I may buy gold, right? But ultimately, that money's not going to have any gold. Moving on here. Okay, the value of money. Well, where do we get value? We get value from its acceptability. We've talked about that already. Confident that money is tradable for goods and services. All right, it's legal tender. Listen, you have to accept cash, period. It's a matter of law, right? Or if you don't accept cash, you can't really come after me for the debt or charge me interest. You have to accept cash if you're a firm, right? Checks, on the other hand, do not have status. That's why some companies or some businesses that you go into will have a sign that says no checks. They're legally allowed to do that. You won't go into a business and it won't say no cash, right? You've got to absolutely have to accept checks, okay? And it's relatively scarcity. It's relatively scarce, all right? And that means that demand and supply are existent. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to graph that here shortly. Sorry, let's go back. Is the value of the price is 1 over the price level. The value of the dollar is 1 over the price level. Okay? Let's move forward. Inflation here is a result of society spending beyond its capacity to produce. If we're buying more, we're a whole bunch of spending money on a whole bunch of different things, but we're not producing as much, we're going to have an issue here. Okay? Moving on to that blue point. Don't worry about the gold point. We'll explain that in class. In inflation, the rapid loss of purchasing power will cause money to lose its function as a medium of exchange. Cash will no longer be accepted if its value continues to go down. Money will serve its function as a store of value as long as there's no unreasonable loss of value by storing it. Okay, when you see like Brazil's economy have massive inflation rather quickly, and they're burning $100 bills or $100 Brazilian notes because their value is so low that they would rather get heat from it because they can't afford electricity or gas than actually try to save it. It's the same situation here. So how do we stabilize it? Okay, well, it's up to the government to keep the money stable, right? And this means appropriate fiscal policy, making sure the money supply is stable through sound monetary policy, right? And how do we do that? Well, in the United States, a blend of legislation, government policy, and the social practice stops the unwise expansion of money, which could really cause inflation. Mostly the Fed and the legislation will do that. Okay, really quickly, transaction demand. Basically, there's two types of demand for money. There's transaction demand, which is the amount of money demanded by individuals and businesses to buy and sell goods and services. Okay, and it varies directly with the GDP. That's transaction demand. Okay, and there's asset demand, which is the amount of money demanded by individuals and businesses to store wealth. Okay, so there's first one, which is what we use to buy, and then the asset demand is what we use to save, essentially. Well, you combine those, and graphing those first two weren't important, you get total demand. Right? You get transaction demand and asset demand, right? And this continues to create the money market demand curve. Oh, sorry. Missed that one. Sorry about that. Thought I got these all. Anyway, that was loud. You get the money market demand curve right through there, and it brings in the arrows, and as you move further, as the interest rates go down, as you heard, the demand for money goes up. You've got quantity of money on the horizontal axis and interest rate on the vertical axis. And so essentially, since the money supply is set by the Fed, right, it's going to be vertical. It doesn't really change. It's vertical. And demand then, depending on the demand for money, will determine the interest rate. Okay? Remember, and this is very important because we're going to be visiting this again and again, the money supply line is straight up. It is vertical. And the demand is horizontal. Not horizontal, but sloping downward and to the right. Okay? So that about wraps this one up. It may be a little bit confusing at first, and if you're scratching your head going, I don't quite get it, we're going to walk through a whole bunch of examples here in class the next couple of days that will help you understand this and allow this to be more easily applied into the situations that we're going to be talking about in class. All right, that's it. We'll see you in class.